Okay, here we go. Okay. So my first YouTube video. My name is Sujin. 내 이름은 수진입니다. I started this channel actually a little while ago. I've been dragging my feet for a lot of reasons, and I was just kind of like, no more excuses. The equipment's not going to be perfect. Let's test the mic. The timing's never going to be perfect, so just accept that and just create. So I'm finally doing this. There are a lot of experiences that I want to share. Because my channel is called Back to Sujin, which talks about me taking my birth name back, I'll talk about my Korean American experience this time around. So, I was born in Seoul. I came to the States with my parents. We moved to LA, K-Town, when I was a year old. And it was, I vaguely remember some parts, but it was a lot. And my parents were in their 20s, and I still can't, I mean, I know a lot of our parents did that, but wow, I can't even imagine moving to a country where you don't speak the language, you don't know anyone, and you have a baby that's constantly crying in tow. But anyway, I went to Korean speaking schools to start, but for first grade, I went into my first English speaking school. So cut to my parents and I in the car, me in the back seat, trying to think of names, American names for me, for this school. And it seemed like, you know, a no-brainer that this is what we're supposed to do. We can't have you as Sujin in this school. That doesn't make any sense. So we went through all of it. We went through Suzanne, Sue, Suzette, even Susie. But we landed on Susan. It was safe and friendly. And yeah, that's what we went with. So, of course, since my name was legally still Sujin and it was Sue space Jin, I still got teased and I still had some comments from people, including one of my teachers who was like, do you like what, Sue space Jin, space Kim? Is it like you have 3 names? And I was always embarrassed and apologetic. I'm remembering that. And that stayed with me throughout high school and even into college. I was embarrassed. I kept crossing out my name in like my yearbooks and correcting it to Susan. Whenever people found out I was Sujin, I'd be like, oh my god, I know, it's so lame, or it's Sujin, what is that? And it was Susan. It's Susan, right? So yeah, and it cut to when I got my citizenship in college. My dad was just like, you can just change your name. It'll be easier. You can legally change it to Susan Kim. And I did. I didn't even give it a second thought. I got naturalized and I put Susan Kim as my name and signed it. And I was finally Susan Kim. I finally got there. And it did make my life easier in a lot of respects. I remember, so my debit card, for example, said Sujin, aka Susan Kim. My debit card. And I remember pulling out cash one time, going to a bank, and they read Sujin aka Susan Kim, and I was like, oh no, it's an AKA. But even like as I'm saying that, an AKA on your debit card didn't really matter to me that much that people knew that I was not Sujin. So yeah, now that I was finally legally the name that I've been going by, I was at peace. And then I moved to New York, 2007, and things changed. And I noticed that people, I think back on it, and I realized that people were different. My friends that I'd made were, they liked nicknames, so they called me Skim, my first initial and my last name, which stuck. It was like, they didn't want to call me Susan, and I got that a couple times from people that they were kind of taken aback, or they were like, I wouldn't have pegged you for a Susan. And then I ask, like, what would you have? And their answer is like, usually was I don't know, but just not Susan. And I'd laugh, and they knew my Korean name, and they would insist that that was a great name, but I still was like, no, it's just Sujin. I mean, making people say that just seems so, like, extra to do. Well, and then I met somebody that refused to call me Susan. He's like, you are Sujin or Skim, and that's it. You are not Susan. And that's the first person that actually said that to me, and I was like, that's fine. And a couple years later, I started to really think about it, and then 2020 hit, and then I really had some time to think about it.
Mysterious new virus.
Coronavirus.
New York, California.
And I went back to that memory of me in the car with my parents, just suddenly deciding that I needed to change my name, and asked why. It's like, why did we think that? Why did we think that? Why did I change my name? Why was I so embarrassed of my name? Susan never felt like me. It never felt like me. I think the only like settings where people used my name was at work, and I was one of those people that kind of just kept to themselves at work, got the job done, and I kept things compartmentalized. So having a name like Susan that's friendly and safe and isn't necessarily me was like the perfect wall and barrier to put up. I had a lot of walls up over most of my life, and posting this video is a testament to how much those walls have come down. And in the process of, you know, questioning why I changed my name and then really getting to know myself more and putting myself out there more, Susan became more and more distant to me. I finally decided one day I'm gonna start introducing myself as Sujin. And I asked my friends to call me Sujin. And now, when I hear the name Susan, it feels really unfamiliar to me. And when people hear the story, they're like, wait, your name was Susan? Like, they can't even imagine that. And not to knock that name, it just wasn't me. Yeah, it's just fun to hear people's reactions when I tell them that was my name. And yes, it feels like I'm more me now. It was a great decision that I made, and I didn't think I would need to change it legally because I'd gone through so many name change processes with Sujin to Susan to my married name to losing my married name and then changing it again. And actually this time it's a lot harder because when you get married or when you get your citizenship, it's just, this is what I want to be called, or I'm changing my last name and that's it. And very easy, a lot less paperwork than this time around. When I had to get a petition, I had to get it signed and approved. I had to, once that's approved, announce my name change in a local paper. Yes, a local paper. And once that happened, then have it be approved by the judge again, and then have all of the other paperwork done. So I started that last fall, and that's when I was supposed to start my YouTube channel because I wanted to document that process. And I have some videos which I might share, but yeah, I slacked a little bit on that. And but yes, in December I went to court and filed the papers. It was really exciting. And just a couple weeks ago, end of January of 2022, I got my social security card and it has my name. So I'm full circle back to Sujin. I may have squeezed the Su and the Jin together, but I'm back. And it feels really nice. And it's gonna be a lot more work. I've gotta change my identification, my driver's license, my passport and all that, but I think it's worth it. I didn't think it would be. I thought that it was enough to just go by Sujin, but I wanted to make it official. And this is my very last name change. I am not changing my name ever again. So that's that. Oh, and another thing that I decided last year was that I was finally gonna go back to Korea. I used to visit every year until 10th grade. And for reasons that I will share in later videos, that's more about, you know, my parents and some cultural things, I did not go back. And it's been 27 years. It's gonna be an emotional experience for sure. When I was visiting Korea, every time I came back, I was crying for days, and it felt what you could only call homesickness. It was hard, and it was hard not going back for so long. And so yeah, it will be a really, I don't know what to expect. I'm just really excited. But another thing is, the last time I was in Korea, I was Sujin. So a full circle, and I didn't plan it this way, but it's kind of amazing that the time I'm going back, I will be Sujin again. So going back to the motherland is going to be really cool. I'm excited to share that with you guys too. But yeah, I guess for now, we'll keep it to this. And excited to share some more. I guess like and subscribe. Okay, I'm going to have to get used to saying that. And I hope to see you guys soon.